I think one of the things that a lot of, the general public doesn't realize, and that's really been shown in the last 5 or 10 years, that there's a high correlation between attention deficit disorder or attention hyperactive deficit disorder, ADHD, ADD. Most people have heard of those acronyms to sexual addictions. I find that in the population of guys or gals that I work with, and research that's coming out is suggesting anywhere around 70% of those that struggle already have a propensity towards or a diagnosable ADD component to it, which makes a lot of sense because some of the symptoms of ADD are lack of capacity to be able to control impulses, inability to pay attention for very long, and so they need something very powerful to stay focused. And there's a lot of other symptoms. I think one of the things that I would get checked out early on if I was someone who was struggling with this is really go in and see if you meet the criteria for ADD or ADHD. There's some medication and some therapy that's out there that can really help with that. It can lower the symptoms of that, which may in turn help a lot with the addiction. I have guys that struggle with ADD that talk about having seen things in black and white, but once on some stimulants for ADD, they start to see things in color. They have more empathy. They have a better capacity to put the brakes on in their life. And so I think, I'm not like this massive, huge proponent of medication. But when it comes to this situation, and if it's something that's either biological or maybe a form of ADD that comes out of experiences from having been overstimulated in life, I think that medication can help, can make a difference along with therapy. But, I think it's one of, if it's 70% of the people, that's a pretty big deal that they pay attention to that. I think that to be responsible about looking at recovery, you're going to look at, the social, the biological, the psychological, and the spiritual components of it. And certainly with ADD, we're dealing with a biological component that could limit the capacity to be able to be successful in recovery, or to be able to limit the temptations or the compulsions that come with the ADD brain. And we're somewhat, we're somewhat controlled by our brain. Our brain is our biggest sex organ, and so how our brain functions, how our brain operates, influences a lot how our compulsions go. And so ADD being one of those elements to pay attention to.